Listen, the MMA world absolutely exploded when Islam Makhachev, the newly crowned welterweight champion, jumped on social media and dropped this incredibly heartfelt message after watching Petr Yan pull off what nobody saw coming. A straight-up stunning victory over Merab Dvalishvili, and here's what had the entire community absolutely buzzing. Islam didn't just acknowledge the upset, he went out of his way to praise Merab despite the crushing defeat, making it crystal clear that he has nothing but massive, genuine respect for the Georgian warrior, viewing him as one of the most formidable forces in the entire sport, someone whose relentless work ethic and unbelievable consistency had legitimately earned him a spot in those pound-for-pound conversations worse alongside Islam himself. These two names were being debated at the highest level, but Islam didn't stop there. He also gave Petr Yan his flowers, offering a respectful salute and acknowledging just how monumental this comeback was. This man had clawed his way back to the top of the bantamweight division after years of setbacks and heartbreaking disappointments, including that bizarre disqualification that robbed him of his first title reign, and Islam made it clear, this journey back to gold wasn't just deserved, it was earned through pure will and absolute determination. The regional connection between these fighters made it even more powerful. Islam was visibly, genuinely happy to see a fellow countryman rise to the top once again. Absolute class act right there.
Tell me what that fight was like for you. Your jab was working, your patience was key, you were fast, you were able to stuff so many of those takedowns. Overall, what lent itself to the most success in your opinion?
The entire length of the fight, I was cold-blooded, cold-headed, and warm-hearted.
I love that approach to it. In terms of your weapons, what felt best in there? What felt most effective?
You know, everything worked. The jab worked, the takedown worked, didn't let him take me down. I mean, everything kind of worked out. The preparation really worked.
What were your thoughts as you got into the championship rounds against a guy who is known to never really tire?
You know, the last thoughts I had in those last rounds was me hearing my cornerman saying, you have to leave your entire self in these rounds, because I knew that if I wasn't going to do it right now, I was going to be blaming myself for not working all the way.
Now, while fans were still processing Islam's incredibly thoughtful response, attention immediately shifted to Dana White, who had his own take on Petr Yan's absolutely dominant performance, and Dana was legitimately impressed by how sharp, how clean, how utterly next-level Yan looked inside that octagon. The UFC CEO made it unequivocally clear that Yan definitively earned that victory based on what unfolded in the cage. There was zero debate about it, but here's where it gets interesting. Dana didn't just pile on Merab. Instead, he brought up the absolutely brutal schedule Merab had been grinding through, explaining that the sheer wear and tear from that relentless gauntlet of tough matchups may have caught up with him when it mattered most in that crucial title fight. The man had been putting his body through hell, but Dana, in typical fashion, refused to dismiss Merab's warrior heart. He publicly showed massive admiration for Merab's undeniable grit and his willingness to fight literally anyone at any time, which is rare in this sport. In Dana's eyes, Merab's toughness and ability to absorb punishment and keep marching forward remained one of the strongest, most defining characteristics of his identity as a fighter, and Dana made sure everyone understood that nights like UFC 33 proved that in this sport, absolutely anything can happen when that cage door locks and the pressure is at its peak.
The main event, Petr Yan, a masterclass there. Can you just talk about his performance, especially given how one-sided that fight was the first two times that those guys competed?
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, we were looking for a fight, and we were in Jersey, and Merab was the main event of that fight, and we ended up signing him. And Matt Serra literally told me that night, this guy is going to be your world champion, and he's a special fighter, I'm telling you. And Matt Serra was absolutely right. One of the toughest fighters that I've ever come across. And let's just say, Merab and I didn't get off on the right foot early on. I have nothing but respect for him and everything that he's accomplished. And yeah, and for Petr to come in and do what he did tonight, and I mean the body shots and the head shots and the wrestling. I mean, it was an incredibly high level fight. That was, you know, what a hell of a way to end the ESPN era.
It really was. Do you think, I mean, there is a case for a trilogy, right? I mean, I'm sure Merab's going to need some time off after that, but I mean, are you thinking about trilogy right now between these two, or do you feel like Petr Yan did enough tonight to move on to other challenges?
You know the answer to this question. I'm not thinking about anything tonight other than, that tonight was a great night of fights. And yeah, I don't know.
But Dana's night wasn't done throwing curveballs. After handling all the questions about Yan and Merab, he suddenly found himself pulled into a completely separate situation involving heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall, and this one had some heat to it. Turns out Tom wasn't happy about something Dana had said previously, and he didn't keep quiet about it. He took his concerns directly to his audience through a video on his personal YouTube channel, which got everyone talking. Tom felt Dana had made some comments about his eye injury that didn't sit right with him, causing a legitimate stir. So when reporters naturally asked Dana about this after UFC 333, he seemed genuinely confused, almost perplexed about what exactly Tom was upset about. Dana explained that he honestly didn't remember every single detail of what he'd said, which makes sense given the mountain of interviews he does, but he did clearly recall mentioning that he thought Tom's eyesight would be okay, suggesting he wasn't trying to throw shade or show disrespect.
Is there, and his demeanor initially seemed to be one of someone who was upset, annoyed. And then he said the line that has been dissected.
Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. So
when you heard his comments, how did you react?
Slightly disappointing because he was already giving updates on my health and he had no idea what had gone on. So disappointing, mate. Disappointing.
If he would have come up and said, poked in the eye, illegal, couldn't see, couldn't continue, serious injury, etc., people would have laid off. They would have taken cues from him.
It definitely didn't help the cause.
Have you spoken to him since?
No.
Is that disappointing?
I've spoken to the UFC since, but I've not spoken to. Me and Dana don't really speak like that anyway. So
you're the heavyweight champion of the world. You're a huge star. You've taken fights on short notice. You've been backup fighter. You stayed on the sidelines for etc. It surprises me that you have no kind of relationship with him.
I don't really know what to say. That's the way it is.
Has he sent you a text or DM in the aftermath?
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. He actually he started giving updates that there was nothing wrong with my eye when that isn't the case. So
right.
No, I've done a lot for the UFC. So yeah, disappointing.
Dana really worked to clear the air here, emphasizing that his comments were absolutely not meant to downplay Tom's serious condition or suggest that Tom wasn't actually hurt. He insisted, quite emphatically, that he never intended anything negative or dismissive towards the heavyweight champ. Instead, he was simply sharing the information he had at the time based on his understanding, and he drove this point home hard. He pointed out that the UFC had people constantly checking in on Tom, meticulously monitoring his health and making sure he had everything he needed for recovery. Dana made sure to highlight that he wasn't speaking as a medical professional. He was just repeating what he'd been told by the people closely following Tom's recovery journey. According to Dana, the misunderstanding probably happened because Tom didn't see the full context of his comment, implying a snippet might have been blown out of proportion. Dana stood firm, saying he never meant to make Tom feel dismissed or unsupported, which is a crucial distinction in maintaining that champion relationship.
Tom Aspinall did interviews recently saying that his eye is not better. He was a little bit disappointed with some comments you made. Have you spoke to Tom? Do you know anything about that? And what's your reaction to what he said?
I have not. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't remember exactly what I said. What did I say? That is,
just said you think that
I think his eyes are okay. Yeah.
Since no more pay-per-view, David with MMA Myanmar.
Hold on, sir. I'm still talking to this guy.
Sorry, my bad.
Here's the thing. So obviously, and I know Tom said, I haven't even talked to him and all that stuff, but we have people all over him right now, checking up on him, making sure he's good. Does he need any help or, any specialists? Yeah, I'm no doctor. I'm just saying what I've heard. And that was in no way, it wasn't said in a way that they're like, oh, what do you think? I said, I think he's fine. Or it wasn't like that. I said, I think Tom's eyes are good. He's going to take some time, heal, come back to, that's all I said. I wasn't saying anything negative toward him. And I think that things can be taken out of context, or he didn't see what I said, because I don't even remember what the fuck I said. But never once did I say anything negative about him or, in a derogatory way. I'm sure he's upset and fired up, and, he'll get better and we'll get him
Once that storm around Tom Aspinall settled, reporters immediately shifted gears to another hot-button topic that always ignites passionate debates: UFC matchmaking, and fans had been vocally frustrated about certain recent fight bookings, incredibly curious about Dana's actual thought process, especially in the wake of UFC 3033. One of the main controversies that truly baffled people was the matchup between Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje. Many believe this fight simply didn't make sense based on the vast differences in rankings and experience levels, leading to a lot of head-scratching. Another massive complaint centered around the immediate rematch between Alexander Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria, scheduled for UFC. People were genuinely confused why that rematch was happening so soon after their previous encounter and desperately wanted Dana to explain, but Dana, being Dana, didn't dive into elaborate strategic explanations. He kept things incredibly blunt and straightforward, almost dismissive of the criticism. He simply said the matchups unfolded the way they did because of the crucial decisions made in the war room, where UFC executives and matchmakers fiercely debate and finalize every single fight card. And even though fans weren't thrilled with these decisions, Dana didn't seem particularly bothered or swayed. He made it crystal clear these decisions aren't random. There's always a deliberate, calculated plan behind them, even if the outside world doesn't always see it or understand it. But then the conversation took an even sharper turn when a reporter boldly brought up Arman Tsarukyan, calling him the odd man out in the stacked lightweight division. Many fans and pundits genuinely believed Arman deserved to be right back in title conversations, given how incredibly dominant he'd been performing recently. But Dana White had a very different view. He made it clear Arman wasn't being overlooked. Instead, he explained that Arman had previously been offered a massive career-defining opportunity, a title shot against Islam Makhachev at UFC 32, but here's the critical part: Arman had to pull out at the last minute, and Dana felt that kind of withdrawal simply couldn't be brushed aside without consequences. Dana was crystal clear about why this mattered so much. From his perspective, an immense amount of work, meticulous planning, and significant investment goes into preparing championship fights, and allowing last-minute changes without repercussions would completely disrupt months of intense preparation for everyone involved. He didn't blame Arman personally. He just made it clear that situations like that cause chaos and disrupt months of painstaking preparation for literally everyone, from the other fighter to the entire organization. And because of that, Dana firmly believes Arman now has to fight his way back into title conversation rather than jumping straight into another shot as if nothing happened. According to Dana, rankings alone don't automatically guarantee a fighter another chance. Reliability and dependability matter just as much, if not more, in the high-stakes world of championship fights. Dana's stance was firm and unyielding. Arman would get his opportunity again, but only after proving himself once more inside that unforgiving cage.
He had an opportunity, and you guys know how that played out, and he's gonna have to work his way back. I don't give a shit what the number says. He's gonna have to work his way back. There's just too much goes into this for those type of things to happen. You know, we had a little. We were talking back in my room tonight, and we were talking about you know, all the crazy shit that's happened over the last 20-something years. But you can't do that. You can't get the opportunity and then you can't end that way. So he's got to work his way back.
As the press conference rolled on, another important and slightly concerning update emerged, this time related to flyweight champion Alexandre Pantoja. During the UFC 3323 post-show, the always-on-point Megan Olivi shared some crucial medical details about Pantoja's condition after he left the octagon in visible pain, an image that definitely worried fans. Many, including myself, had initially assumed he suffered an elbow injury, since that's exactly where the discomfort seemed localized and where he was clutching. But here's the crazy part. Megan revealed that the UFC's chief medical physician Jeff Davidson had personally informed her it was actually a left shoulder dislocation, and not just any dislocation, it was one that had popped back into place entirely on its own right there in the octagon. Now, for those who don't know, this means his shoulder literally slipped out of its socket and then, without any external help, returned to its normal position, which causes serious searing pain and can lead to lingering weakness for quite some time afterward. The kind of injury that just makes you wince when you hear about it.
Do you have a medical update yet on Pantoja? Do we know what his status is?
Yeah, they popped his shoulder back in. I thought it was the elbow.
I did too.
No, it was not the elbow.
Shoulder?
It was his shoulder. And they popped it back in backstage. Now they got to do, you know, MRIs and check out the ligaments and see how it is. So we don't have a time frame on how long he'll be out.
Despite what must have been an incredibly rough, painful night for Alexandre Pantoja, he was thankfully able to walk out with his family, albeit while wearing a sling, which was a reassuring sight for everyone. According to the update, he was resting comfortably and, crucially, not in any immediate danger, which was the biggest relief. However, the exact recovery time and full extent of the damage would depend on what the upcoming scans revealed, adding that element of uncertainty, and this led to a classic broadcasting moment, when Joe Rogan on the broadcast questioned whether Megan had actually meant the shoulder or the elbow, trying to get absolute clarity, but Megan, being the true professional she is, stood firmly by the information she'd been given, patiently explaining she wasn't guessing or speculating in the slightest. She was simply relaying the exact wording provided by the chief physician himself, word for word, and later, to completely dispel any lingering doubts, she took to social media and confirmed once again that the injury was indeed the shoulder, emphatically not the elbow, adding that the team had meticulously triple-checked all the details to avoid any possible misinformation spreading.
Former flyweight champion Alexandre Pantoja just dropped a video after a devastating first-round hand injury following his loss to Joshua Van at UFC 323.
When I see Joshua Van out the other side of the octagon, I believe I can finish him in the first round. That's what I try to do. Best camp of my life, best catch weight, best everything, you know. I feel so comfortable in the octagon. That's my octagon, that's my belt. That's everything I did in my life, in my whole life to that moment, you know. And it's not just about myself today, it's about Joshua Van, you know. Joshua Van, that's his destiny to win this belt tonight. I want to work very hard. I work very hard all my life, and I'm gonna work again, and I'm gonna take my belt again, you know.
When you put all these pieces together, all of these compelling storylines blended seamlessly to create an absolutely eventful and unforgettable fallout from UFC 33 that extended far beyond the actual fights themselves. Islam Makhachev displayed pure class, reacting with incredible sportsmanship to the surprising bantamweight title fight outcome, genuinely offering heartfelt encouragement to Merab Dvalishvili and respectful recognition to Petr Yan. Meanwhile, Dana White spent significant time answering a barrage of questions about the meticulously planned yet often criticized fight card. He cleared up misunderstandings with heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall and defended decisions that had clearly caused backlash among the passionate fan base. Simultaneously, important updates surfaced about fighters dealing with the immense physical toll of the event, highlighting both the inherent danger and incredible dedication required in MMA. By the end of the night, the entire MMA community had a colossal amount to discuss, from unexpected crushing losses and long-awaited triumphant comebacks to serious injuries, intriguing controversies, and the never-ending debate over the often contentious art of matchmaking. The raw energy and ripple effects from UFC 33 carried far beyond the confines of the cage, serving as a powerful reminder why this sport continues to captivate, thrill, and utterly engross fans around the entire world. This is why we watch combat sport.